Have you ever wondered why some vineyards consistently produce these rich, complex, award-winning vintages, while others just kind of struggle, low yields, lackluster flavor profiles year after year? Well, the answer usually isn't in the sky, and it isn't just in the pruning. It's actually right beneath your feet. Welcome to this comprehensive explainer where we're going to transform complex agronomic science into actionable, practical steps for your vineyard. Whether you're managing a massive commercial estate or you're just tending to a passionate hobby farm, getting your fertilization strategy right is absolutely critical. The secret to maximizing yield and premium grape quality literally lies in proper targeted fertilization. We all focus so much on the canopy and the grapes themselves, right? But we forget that the plant is really only as healthy as the soil it grows in. Providing the exact right nutrients at the exact right time is how you build a vine's resilience against disease, winter frost, and ultimately how you craft those complex sugars and aromatics that define a truly spectacular wine. So here is our agenda for today's explainer. We'll be walking through the basics of vineyard nutrition, vital nutritional elements, types of vineyard fertilizers, timing and application methods, common fertilization mistakes, and finally, we'll wrap up with practical tips and recommendations. Let's jump right into Section 1, Basics of Vineyard Nutrition, and specifically, understanding your soil. First up, the clay-humus complex. Now, think of this as your soil's battery, or maybe a giant biological sponge. This complex is what actually holds on to the nutrients you apply, preventing them from just washing away with the next rainstorm. So the crucial point here is that without a healthy clay-humus complex, your vines simply cannot absorb the nutrients you're providing. That leads to rapid soil depletion and honestly a total waste of your fertilizer budget. And this beautifully illustrates how your specific soil type dictates your fertilization strategy based on the exact wine you want to produce. If you're growing for a crisp white wine, your vines will actually prefer sandy, lighter soils with very low humus. We're talking under 2%, but you'll need to keep them well stocked with phosphorus and potassium. On the other hand, robust red wine vines demand deeper, well-aerated soils with excellent thermal properties to really push their roots deep. You absolutely have to tailor your approach to your specific terroir. Moving on to Section 2, Vital Nutritional Elements and Diagnosing Vine Deficiencies. Now, I want you to think of these symptoms as your vineyard's translation guide. Notice how distinctly the vines communicate their needs through color changes. If your older, lower leaves are turning yellow, you're looking at a nitrogen deficiency, which is going to severely stunt your spring growth. If the edges of the leaves are turning red or brown and dying off, your vine is screaming for potassium, and that's disastrous because potassium drives sugar accumulation. In fact, we see so many case studies where young, overburdened vines suddenly produce poor quality, flavorless grapes simply because a potassium deficiency was ignored. Meanwhile, cream-white young leaves at the top signal a lack of iron, and spotted leaves with striking green veins point directly to a magnesium deficiency. But diagnosing isn't just about the nutrients themselves, it's about availability. Watch out for the number 6.5. If your soil pH hits 6.5 or higher, essential microelements like boron become severely restricted. Without boron, your vines are going to experience massive crop drops and sterile blooms just 2 to 3 weeks after flowering. Your soil could be absolutely full of boron, but if that pH is wrong, the vine just can't access it. All right, Section 3, Types of Vineyard Fertilizers, looking at organic versus synthetic options. Growers love to debate organic versus synthetic, but the reality? You usually need both. Organic fertilizers like manure and compost are your long-term investment. They take about 1 to 5 years to break down, depending on your soil, but they physically improve the soil structure and microbiology, feeding that clay-humus complex we talked about earlier. On the flip side, mineral or synthetic fertilizers like NPK granules and foliar sprays are your tactical tools. They're fast-acting and targeted right at the vine's immediate seasonal growth demands. When you're utilizing those mineral options, you've got to remember this golden rule of macronutrients. Nitrogen fuels the leafy, vegetative canopy. Phosphorus is the engine that drives flowering, seed development, and early ripening. And potassium? Potassium is your quality control element. It's absolutely crucial for surviving harsh winter freezes, and it's what guarantees those sweet, highly aromatic grapes come harvest time. Balancing them is the only way to achieve harmonious vine development. Section 4, Timing and Application Methods, Syncing with the vine's rhythm. Let's see how this builds a natural seasonal rhythm. In autumn, right alongside deep plowing, you want to apply your organic matter, as well as your slower-moving phosphorus and potassium, so they have the entire winter to settle in. Then, in early spring, about 20 to 30 days before bud break, You apply your nitrogen to give the vine that explosive waking up energy. Finally, summer is for fine-tuning. This is when you use targeted foliar sprays to deliver microelements directly to the leaves during active growth. Now, how you physically apply the fertilizer is just as critical. For single vines or smaller setups, this three-step process is a total game changer. You need to dig a circular trench about 50 to 60 centimeters away from the main trunk. Apply the fertilizer directly into this trench, and then, and this is the most important part, cover it back up with soil. Surface level spreading simply does not work well because nutrients can just wash away or fail to ever reach the roots. To be super precise, your fertilizers absolutely must reach a depth of 20 to 45 centimeters. I want you to think of this depth as the vine's main drinking pipeline. This is the zone where the active, absorbing roots actually live. If your phosphorus and potassium are just sitting up on the topsoil, they aren't doing a thing for your grapes. Section 5. Common fertilization mistakes and pitfalls to avoid. This quote from agricultural experts is something every grower should frame. Independent application of single macronutrients has a weak effect. Nutrition must be balanced. Applying massive amounts of just nitrogen without balancing it with phosphorus and potassium is a guaranteed way to throw your vines entirely out of whack. It promotes wildly excessive, weak leaf growth completely at the expense of your fruit. Building on that, here are the most common errors that disrupt the vine's natural physiology. Number 1, late nitrogen applications. Applying nitrogen way too close to harvest makes the plant highly vulnerable to gray rot, and it prevents the wood from hardening off, which leads to winter freezing. Number 2, as we just discussed, surface spreading phosphorus and potassium is literally just wasting your fertilizer. Number 3, applying organic manure in the spring instead of the autumn means it won't break down in time due to lower summer moisture. And finally, ignoring your soil pH can trigger severe iron chlorosis, turning your vibrant green leaves a sickly white. Let's wrap up with Section 6, practical tips and recommendations, some actionable insights for your vineyard. Look, guessing is the enemy of a good vintage, so let data guide your hand. Always test your soil at a deep level, around 40 to 120 centimeters, before you ever plant a new vine. For mature vineyards, you should be performing leaf analysis every few years, right around mid-June to mid-July. This gives you a real-time snapshot of what the plant is actually absorbing. And if you do spot a deficiency, step 3 is to use targeted foliar sprays to quickly course correct. A few final rapid-fire best practices for you. Always split your nitrogen into a couple of smaller doses rather than one massive dump. This ensures better absorption and way less runoff. Always water your vines thoroughly after applying soil fertilizers to get them activated. If you're doing foliar spraying, only do it in the early morning or late evening to prevent the sun from burning the wet leaves. And most importantly, always consult with your local agricultural experts or extension services. They're going to help you cater these practices to your specific regional soil conditions and ensure you're fully compliant with local agricultural regulations. So I'll leave you with this final question to ponder next time you're walking your rows. Are you just feeding your vines, or are you carefully crafting your next vintage from the soil up? Because when you master the science of the soil, you truly master the art of the wine. Thank you for joining this explainer, and here's to a phenomenal harvest.